Welcome to This Explainer. We all use money every single day, right? But the hidden legal framework that actually governs every transaction you make, it is absolutely fascinating.
Okay, let's kick things off by asking a pretty simple question. Picture this. You walk into a grocery store, gather your things, and go to pay. Can the cashier legally say no to your payment method? Can they look at what you are handing them and simply reject it?
Well, to answer that, we'll follow this quick roadmap. Number 1, the flaws of the barter system. Number 2, the evolution of money. Number 3, what is legal tender? And finally, understanding non-legal tender.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Flaws of the Barter System, and why the old way completely failed.
So, back in the barter system, people literally just traded goods for other goods. Imagine walking up to a market and trying to exchange a freshly caught fish for a sack of wheat. It sounds simple enough in theory, but as societies grew, this system became incredibly clunky and inefficient.
Bartering actually falls apart pretty quickly due to 5 massive headaches. First up is the double coincidence of wants. Basically, if you have cloth and you want rice, but the rice guy doesn't want your cloth, boom, the transaction stalls. Second, there is no common measure of value. Third, think about storing bulky or perishable goods, total nightmare. Fourth is indivisibility. You can't exactly chop a live goat in half just to make exact change. And finally, making deferred future payments with items that spoil is nearly impossible.
Which brings us to Section 2, the evolution of money, from animals to electronics. Because bartering was just so inefficient, humanity absolutely had to innovate. There's this economist, Crowther, who pointed out that the invention of money was a fundamental, revolutionary change in our economic lives. We started off in the proto-historic period using animal money, like cows and sheep, but again, we hit that indivisibility problem. That transitioned into commodity money, then durable metallic money, right up to royal coins, and eventually the paper, plastic, and electronic digital wallets we use globally today.
To give you an idea, in the olden days, before standard currencies, everyday things like cowrie shells were used as commodity money. What's really wild here is that the type of commodity used depended entirely on local climate and culture. Some cultures used animal skins, grains, feathers, or even salt. But eventually, the sheer hassle of storing these items forced us to pivot once again. To solve scarcity and establish some uniformity, rulers in ancient times started stamping small pieces of metal with their royal seals. This was a total game changer. It paved the way for metallic coins, specifically what we call standard or full-body coins. This just means the face value stamped on the outside was exactly equal to the intrinsic value, so the actual precious metal like gold or silver inside the coin was worth that exact amount. Over time, government authorities took control of this monetary system to give it uniformity and, most importantly, legal status.
And that evolution leads us right into Section 3, what is legal tender? The law behind your cash.
So here is the absolutely crucial definition we need to understand. Legal tender money is money that is strictly backed by law. This means that if you try to use it to pay off a debt or finalize a transaction, it literally cannot be refused by anybody on any ground. The law compels the receiver to accept it.
For example, let's look at India. All the coins and currency notes there, like a 50 rupee note issued by the central bank or a 1 rupee note from the government, are legal tender money. They are legally binding. When you hand that piece of paper to a merchant to pay for a sale, they legally cannot turn it down.
But what happens when you aren't using physical cash? That brings us to Section 4, understanding non-legal tender and the power of optional money.
Non-legal tender is the money that we generally use every single day to make final payments. But here's the kicker. There is absolutely no legal compulsion for the other party to accept it. A seller is perfectly allowed to refuse it. Because of this freedom, it's commonly known as optional money.
A classic example of this optional money is a check or bill of exchange. These are forms of bank money. You see, a check isn't actual money itself. It's simply a credit instrument that transfers bank deposits. Because it relies entirely on the trust that you actually have that cash sitting in your bank account, a store owner is perfectly within their legal rights to refuse to take it.
And you know what? That same optional nature generally applies to plastic money too, like our debit and credit cards. While advanced tech makes them incredibly easy to use, they still rely on banking networks and payment processors. They are modern conveniences for sure, but without the absolute, unyielding legal mandate of physical currency notes, a merchant can absolutely choose to just put up a cash-only sign in the window.
So let's sum up the rules of the transaction right here. Legal tender money is government-enforced, mandatory, and includes your physical coins and notes. On the flip side, Non-legal tender money, or optional money, includes things like checks and bills of exchange. It has zero legal compulsion of acceptance and can be refused because it relies completely on mutual agreement, banking infrastructure, and trust.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought. Today, we've got electronic money, digital wallets, and smart devices transferring monetary value globally, all backed by central banks. As our global economy races faster and faster towards these cashless, electronic transactions, will governments eventually be forced to shift these digital tools out of the optional category and grant full legal tender status to our digital wallets? It is definitely something to chew on the next time you tap your phone to pay. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the rules of the world around you.